In the summer of 1944, the sprawling Golden Plains of South Dakota served as an unconventional classroom for German prisoners of war, POWs. Here, amidst the vast fields stretching endlessly under the blue sky, they found themselves entangled in the intricacies of American agriculture, a domain safeguarded by a web of insurance mechanisms unfamiliar to many of them. This narrative unfolds in the context of the U.S. war effort, where even fields of crops were considered a strategic resource pivotal to the sustenance of both the home front and armed forces abroad. Camp Algona, a principal POW camp nestled in the heart of Iowa, had several branch camps scattered across the Midwest, serving as temporary homes to thousands of German soldiers captured during World War II. One such branch was located near the small yet industrious town of Huron, South Dakota. Established under the watchful eye of the U.S. Army Provost Marshal General, the camp housed approximately 300 German POWs. The facility was a self-contained world, adhering to the meticulous regulations prescribed by War Department circulars. The camp's infrastructure was a testament to military precision. It featured rows of barracks, a mess hall serving meals that adhered to nutritional guidelines, a recreation area where prisoners could engage in sports and leisure activities, and administrative offices. All of these were encircled by barbed wire fencing and punctuated by watchtowers, manned by units of the military police. The camp was not just a prison, but a small, disciplined community, organized to maintain order and productivity. Across the United States, the agriculture sector was strained under the weight of labor shortages as the war effort drew men and women away from farms and into factories and military service. The POW labor program emerged as a practical solution to this problem. German prisoners were employed in various capacities, ranging from backbreaking field work to intricate cannery operations and essential infrastructure projects like the installation of irrigation systems, crucial for enhancing agricultural productivity. This labor was facilitated through agricultural labor contracts negotiated by the War Manpower Commission, which meticulously coordinated the employment of POWs. Transport logs and military records reveal the systematic movement of these men from camp to farm, rail depot to processing facility, underscoring the logistical complexity and scale of integrating prisoner labor into the wartime economy. Each day, convoys of trucks ferried the POWs to their designated work sites, where they labored under the supervision of both military and civilian overseers. It was during their toil on a farm near Huron that the German POWs first encountered the concept of crop insurance, a cornerstone of American agricultural resilience. The farm owner, a pragmatic man focused on maximizing yield, took the time to explain the system to the POWs as they assisted in setting up an advanced irrigation system. Crop insurance, he explained, was a measure designed to mitigate the financial risks posed by unpredictable weather, pests, and other calamities that could devastate a farmer's livelihood. For many of the POWs, this was a revelation. Their experiences in agriculture were rooted in the traditions of German farming, where losses were often borne personally by the farmer, and the concept of government-backed insurance was virtually unknown. The farmer detailed how crop failure compensation worked. In the event of significant damage, claims could be filed with a federal agency, ensuring that farmers received some financial relief. He showed them yield calculation worksheets, which meticulously recorded per-acre production and established the basis for potential compensation. Premium tables, complex yet methodical, illustrated the cost of insurance, varying by crop type and assessed risk. Annual forms, signed by federal agents, underscored the structured oversight of these insurance policies, which relied on sophisticated actuarial models to safeguard American agriculture. Civilian attitudes towards the POWs were a tapestry of mixed emotions. For some local farmers, the POWs were a godsend. extra hands during peak seasons when every additional worker could mean the difference between profit and loss. These farmers appreciated the disciplined, hard-working nature of the German soldiers, who brought with them a sense of order and efficiency. However, not all interactions were positive. Some civilians harbored resentment towards the prisoners, viewing them as a tangible reminder of the ongoing conflict that had claimed so many American lives. Recorded incidents, such as a minor altercation at a local grocery store, highlighted the underlying tensions. In one instance, a POW, struggling with the language barrier, inadvertently caused a commotion when he misunderstood the pricing of goods. Such incidents underscored the challenges of integrating POW labor into civilian life, where cultural differences and wartime emotions often clashed. Adhering to the Geneva Convention, the camp maintained a strict regime of discipline, punctuated by regular inspections by the International Red Cross. The POWs were provided with medical access, ensuring they were treated for ailments and injuries, a crucial aspect of maintaining a healthy workforce. Mail services allowed prisoners to maintain contact with their families back home, though all correspondence was subject to censorship, ensuring that sensitive information never crossed enemy lines. Educational programs, supported by the YMCA, offered courses in English and vocational skills, contributing to the broader aim of re-education. These programs were designed not only to occupy the prisoners' time, but also to expose them to American democratic values and economic systems, subtly challenging the ideologies that had fueled their wartime fervor. Food systems within the camp were aligned with the wartime rationing policies that governed the entire nation. POWs received meals consistent with the caloric standards set by the War Department, ensuring they were fit for labor. These meals were supplemented by wages earned from their labor, paid in coupons redeemable at the camp canteen, where they could purchase small luxuries like tobacco and sweets. Rationing policies, documented in camp newspapers, emphasized the equitable distribution of resources during the war effort. Despite being prisoners, the German soldiers were treated humanely, in part reflecting America's commitment to maintaining moral high ground in the international arena. As the war neared its inevitable end, post-war repatriation directives outlined the process for returning POWs to Germany. The re-education programs aimed at dismantling Nazi ideologies were subtly woven into daily camp life. Through exposure to American democratic values, economic systems, and the principles of freedom and individual rights, the ideological transformation was gradual, yet systemic. This was an essential component of the broader post-war strategy, intended to ensure that returning soldiers would contribute to a peaceful, democratic post-war Germany. In the fields of South Dakota, German POWs gained insights into an agricultural system underpinned by insurance and federal oversight, a stark contrast to their experiences in Germany. This historical narrative, supported by an array of archival documents, captures a unique intersection of war, economy, and ideology. It illustrates the complexities of integrating enemy combatants into the fabric of American life during a time of global conflict. The lessons learned by these POWs, both in agriculture and ideology, were seeds planted that, in some small way, contributed to the reconstruction and democratization of post-war Europe. As the summer of 1944 unfolded in the expansive plains of South Dakota, a unique chapter in World War II history was being written. German POWs, stationed at a branch camp near the small town of Huron, found themselves deeply entrenched in the rhythms of American farm life. This camp was a satellite of the larger Camp Algona in Iowa and was part of a network of POW camps scattered across the United States. Unlike the battlefields they were accustomed to, this new setting demanded a different kind of resilience and adaptability, where the weapons were tools of cultivation and the battlefield was the rich, fertile earth of America's heartland. These POWs, once soldiers in the German Army, had been captured in various theaters of war and transported across the Atlantic. Now they were engaged in daily routines far removed from the harsh realities of combat. Under the watchful supervision of U.S. military personnel, they contributed significantly to local agricultural efforts. Their labor was crucial, particularly as many American men were overseas, fighting in the war, creating a labor shortage on the home front. Thus, the POWs were thrust into a world of tractors and tillers, learning to cultivate the land rather than destroy it. It was a role that required them to adapt quickly, not just physically, but also mentally, as they were exposed to new ideas and practices. One of the greatest influences on these German prisoners was an American farmer who took on the role of an informal educator. This farmer, whose family had worked the land for generations, introduced the POWs to the concept of crop insurance, an innovative system that was quite foreign to them. Crop insurance in the United States, backed by federal support, was designed to protect farmers from the financial devastation that could result from crop failures due to natural disasters. This was a novel concept for the POWs, accustomed as they were to a system in Germany where farmers largely bore the risks themselves, with minimal state intervention. The farmer explained that crop insurance policies were comprehensive, covering a range of contingencies such as drought, hail, and excessive rainfall. This system provided a financial safety net that ensured agricultural stability and continuity, even in the face of unpredictable natural events. The farmer elucidated the intricacies of these policies, emphasizing that the premiums were determined by actuarial models. These models, developed by experts, utilized historical data and statistical analysis to predict potential losses and set premium rates. The POWs learned that these rates varied depending on several factors, including the type of crop, the region's climate, and the farmer's history of productivity. The actuarial models were not just about individual farm sustainability, but were integral to the stability of the broader agricultural economy during the war. The farmer illustrated the practical application of these concepts by showing the POWs yield calculation worksheets. These documents were essential tools for farmers, used to estimate the potential yield of their crops based on various factors, including soil quality, weather patterns, and historical yields. The POWs observed how meticulously these calculations were recorded, forming the basis for insurance claims in the event of a crop failure. The farmer explained that these records were subject to verification by federal agents to ensure accuracy and compliance with insurance regulations. In addition to yield calculations, the farmer introduced the POWs to premium tables. These tables provided a comprehensive overview of the insurance costs associated with different types of crops and coverage levels. By selecting appropriate coverage, farmers could tailor their insurance policies to meet their specific needs, balancing the cost of premiums with the level of risk they were willing to assume. This flexibility allowed farmers to make informed decisions, protecting their livelihoods while optimizing their financial resources. The POWs also observed the farmer as he completed the annual forms required for crop insurance enrollment. These forms, signed by federal agents, served as official documentation of the farmer's participation in the program. The farmer highlighted the significance of these forms, noting that they represented a formal agreement between the farmer and the federal government. This partnership was a testament to the government's commitment to supporting agriculture as a vital component of the war effort. The importance of this support was not lost on the POWs, who understood that maintaining agricultural production was crucial to feeding both the military and civilian populations. The contrasts between the American and German agricultural systems were stark and highlighted different approaches to agricultural resilience and economic stability during wartime. In Germany, the burden of crop failure typically fell squarely on the shoulders of the farmers, with limited state intervention. The American system, with its comprehensive insurance policies and federal backing, provided a level of security that was unheard of in their homeland. This difference underscored the varying strategies employed by nations to ensure economic resilience during times of global conflict. As the POWs continued their work on the farm, they gained a deeper appreciation for the interconnectedness between American agriculture and the war economy. The farmers' explanations illuminated the broader context in which their labor was situated, revealing the strategic importance of maintaining robust agricultural production. Their interactions with the farmer offered more than just agricultural education. They provided a window into American society's innovative approaches to problem-solving and resilience in the face of adversity. The days passed, marked by the steady rhythm of farm work and the ongoing exchange of knowledge. The POWs, though far from home and thrust into unfamiliar circumstances, found themselves part of a complex network of wartime logistics that transcended national boundaries. Their contributions to local agricultural efforts were both pragmatic and symbolic, reflecting the intricate interplay between economic necessity and ideological transformation during a time of global conflict. Meanwhile, the U.S. military personnel overseeing the POW camp maintained strict adherence to the Geneva Convention standards, ensuring that the prisoners were treated humanely and afforded their rights under international law was a priority. This commitment to ethical conduct was evident in the educational programs offered within the camp, which included lessons in English and American civics, aimed at broadening the POWs' perspectives and exposing them to democratic values. There were also opportunities for cultural enrichment, which served to further their understanding of the world beyond their own national borders. Despite the structured environment and the focus on ideological re-education, the POWs remained acutely aware of their status as enemy combatants in a foreign land. Their interactions with the American farmer provided a rare glimpse into the civilian world beyond the confines of the camp, offering moments of connection and understanding amid the backdrop of war. These encounters, while brief, were laden with significance, highlighting the potential for cross-cultural exchanges to transcend the divisions of conflict. As the war progressed toward its conclusion, plans for the repatriation of the POWs began to take shape. The U.S. government, in collaboration with the military and civilian agencies, outlined strategies for the reintegration of former POWs into post-war Germany. Central to these plans was the notion of ideological transformation, with the hope that the experiences and knowledge gained during their captivity would contribute to the democratization of Germany and the rebuilding of war-torn Europe. The POWs, having witnessed the resilience and ingenuity of American agriculture, carried with them insights that would prove invaluable in the reconstruction of their homeland. The lessons learned in South Dakota, though rooted in the specifics of crop insurance and farming practices, held broader implications for the recovery and renewal of a nation emerging from the devastation of war. In the final days of their captivity, the POWs reflected on their time in South Dakota, recognizing the profound impact of their experiences on their understanding of the world. The intersection of war and agriculture, embodied in the fields they had worked and the systems they had studied, served as a testament to the enduring power of human ingenuity and cooperation in the face of adversity. As they prepared for their eventual return to Germany, the POWs looked to the future with a sense of hope and determination, carrying with them the seeds of change sown in the fertile soil of American farmland. As the summer of 1944 waned, a subtle shift was underway in the sprawling fields surrounding the German POW branch camp near Huron, South Dakota. The relentless heat of July and August had begun to give way to the more temperate breezes of early autumn, and with this change came a palpable sense of reflection and anticipation among the prisoners. The German POWs continued their labor in the fields, their days meticulously structured by the rhythms of American agriculture, a foreign yet fascinating world to these men far from home. The camp itself was a testament to the efficiency and order of wartime organization. It was laid out with a precision that mirrored the military discipline of its inhabitants. Long rows of barracks, each identical to the next, stood behind a sturdy barrier of barbed wire fencing. This fencing not only served as a physical boundary, but also as a constant reminder of the POW's status as captives in a land so different from their own. Military personnel tasked with maintaining order and ensuring compliance with the Geneva Convention patrolled the perimeter and oversaw the daily operations with a steady presence. Their vigilance underscored the delicate balance between security and humanity, a balance that had to be maintained in such a unique setting. The POWs were primarily engaged in the labor-intensive task of installing irrigation systems, a job that demanded both physical endurance and a keen technical understanding. These systems were crucial for transforming the vast arid stretches of land into fertile ground capable of sustaining robust crops. The American farmer, who had taken on the role of an informal educator, frequently visited the fields. His visits were not merely supervisory, they were educational exchanges that revealed much about the differences between American and European agricultural practices. With a weathered face and hands calloused from years of labor, the farmer was a living testament to the hard work and innovation that defined American agricultural success. The farmer's explanations of crop insurance offered a window into a world of agricultural economics that was entirely new to the POWs. In Germany, farmers were often left to bear the full brunt of crop failures, a precarious situation that could lead to financial ruin. Here, however, the farmer outlined a system designed to provide stability and security, a federally supported initiative aimed at safeguarding the agricultural economy from the vagaries of nature. Through yield calculation worksheets and premium tables, farmers could anticipate potential losses and secure compensation in the event of adverse weather conditions. This systematic approach, underpinned by actuarial models and government oversight, provided a safety net that was virtually unheard of in the POW's homeland. The POWs observed with a mix of curiosity and contemplation as the farmer demonstrated the process of filing an insurance claim. He produced annual forms, meticulously filled out and signed by federal agents, which documented the expected yields and insured amounts. The precision of this documentation was a revelation to the POWs, underscoring the government's commitment to agricultural stability even amidst the uncertainties of war. This meticulous approach contrasted sharply with the more precarious systems in place in Germany, where farmers often faced financial ruin following poor harvests. As the POWs worked under the expansive sky, the vastness of the American landscape seemed to echo the broad opportunities that existed within this nation. They absorbed these lessons with an eagerness that belied their status as captives. The American system of crop insurance was emblematic of a broader societal structure that prioritized economic security and collective resilience. This concept was foreign yet intriguing to the POWs, presenting a vision of agriculture not as an isolated endeavor, but as an integral component of a nationally coordinated effort. It was a reflection of a society that valued not only individual prosperity, but also the welfare of the collective. The presence of the POWs in the fields was a pragmatic solution to the labor shortages that had arisen with so many American men deployed overseas. The War Manpower Commission had facilitated their deployment, ensuring that agricultural production remained robust despite the wartime disruptions. This arrangement was not without its tensions, as local civilians harbored mixed feelings about the use of enemy soldiers on American soil. Yet practical necessity often trumped sentiment, and the POWs' contributions were increasingly recognized as essential to the war effort. The camp's educational programs further emphasized the ideological aspects of this cultural exchange. Classes were offered in various subjects, including English and American history, aiming to introduce the POWs to democratic principles and the values underpinning American society. These programs were designed not only to occupy the POWs' time, but also to serve as a form of ideological re-education, preparing them for eventual repatriation and the potential role they could play in a post-war democratic Germany. In the makeshift classrooms of the camp, POWs sat at wooden desks, pencils in hand, as instructors expounded on the virtues of democracy, the rights of the individual, and the responsibilities of citizenship. As the POWs participated in these classes, they were exposed to a wider array of ideas and practices that stood in stark contrast to those of their homeland. The American emphasis on individual rights, civic responsibility, and economic opportunity was presented as a model of governance that could inspire change. This exposure was part of a broader strategy to influence the POWs' perspectives, fostering an understanding of democracy that could take root upon their return to Germany. The hope was that these men, once they returned to their homeland, would carry with them the seeds of democratic ideals, contributing to the rebuilding of a peaceful and stable Germany. Despite the structured environment and educational initiatives, life in the camp was not without its challenges. The POWs faced the daily reality of confinement, their movements restricted, and their lives dictated by the schedules and regulations of the camp. Social interactions were limited to their fellow prisoners and the occasional supervised contact with American civilians, creating a sense of isolation from the wider world. The barbed wire that surrounded them was a constant reminder of their status, yet it also offered a strange sort of protection, a boundary within which they could find a semblance of routine and order in a world turned upside down by war. The end of the war loomed, and with it, the prospect of repatriation. Plans were being formulated to return the POWs to Germany, a process that involved complex logistical coordination and delicate diplomatic negotiations. The experiences gained in the fields of South Dakota, coupled with the ideological exposure within the camp, were intended to equip the POWs with the tools necessary to contribute to the rebuilding of their homeland. As the days grew shorter and the harvest season approached, the POWs continued to labor under the expansive skies of the Midwest. Their work was a testament to the complex interplay of war, agriculture, and cultural exchange, highlighting the interconnectedness of global events and local realities. The lessons learned in those fields, both practical and ideological, would linger long after the war's end, shaping the perspectives and aspirations of those who had lived through this unique chapter of history. The story of the German POWs in South Dakota is one of adaptation and discovery, set against the backdrop of a world at war. It is a narrative that underscores the power of resilience and cooperation, offering a glimpse into the transformative potential of cross-cultural interactions. As the POWs prepared to depart, the fields they had tended stood as a testament to the enduring spirit of human endeavor, bridging the divide between nations and sowing the seeds of a shared future. In these final days, the POWs often found themselves pausing in their work to gaze across the fields, the horizon stretching endlessly beyond their immediate reach. It was in these moments that they contemplated the lessons they had learned and the lives they had led during their time in captivity. They had arrived as strangers in a strange land, yet they would leave with a deeper understanding of a world beyond their own, carrying with them the knowledge that cooperation and understanding could bridge even the widest of divides. As they prepared to return to a war-torn Germany, they did so with a vision of hope, a hope that the seeds of peace once sown could yield a future of prosperity and harmony. In the late summer of 1944, the expansive agricultural landscape of South Dakota was a vivid testament to the vastness and resilience of American farming during the turbulent years of World War II. The fields stretched endlessly, a patchwork quilt of golden wheat and verdant corn, interspersed with irrigation systems that had begun to dot the region with increasing regularity. These systems were crucial in ensuring that the land remained productive despite the challenges posed by the war. The German POWs, who were stationed at a branch camp near Huron, found themselves integral to the maintenance and operation of these systems. Under the watchful gaze of both military guards and local farmers, the POWs engaged daily in the labor-intensive tasks necessary to keep the fields thriving. The interaction between the POWs and the local farmers was limited by necessity and circumstance, yet within these interactions lay the seeds of a tentative understanding. The farmers, whose livelihoods depended on the productivity of their land, had a vested interest in ensuring that the POWs were both efficient and effective in their work. One farmer, in particular, had taken it upon himself to introduce the POWs to the concept of crop insurance, a practice that was still relatively novel even among American farmers. He continued to elaborate on the intricacies of this system, explaining how the federal government, through the Federal Crop Insurance Corporation, provided a crucial safety net against the unpredictability of weather and market conditions. The farmers' explanations were delivered in a straightforward, matter-of-fact manner, highlighting the importance of actuarial models in predicting potential losses and determining insurance premiums. It was a methodical process, one that required farmers to submit yield calculation worksheets annually. These worksheets detailed the expected output based on historical data, and this information, combined with regional weather patterns and soil conditions, informed the premium tables that dictated the cost of insurance for each farmer. The premiums, though an added expense, were deemed necessary to ensure that farmers could recover financially in the event of a poor harvest. To the German POWs, who were accustomed to a different system back in Germany, where individual farmers bore the full brunt of crop failures, this collective risk management approach seemed both innovative and pragmatic. The farmers' demonstration included a thorough review of the forms required to apply for crop insurance. These forms, signed by federal agents, were a testament to the involvement of the government in safeguarding agricultural productivity. The POWs observed the meticulous record-keeping and the layers of bureaucracy involved, recognizing the complexity of a system designed to stabilize a vital sector of the wartime economy. As the POWs continued their work in the fields, they often reflected on the stark differences between their homeland and this foreign land. In Germany, the war had severely strained agricultural resources, and many farms struggled to maintain output as manpower and materials were diverted to the war effort. The American system, although not without its own set of challenges, demonstrated a level of organization and foresight that was noteworthy. The POWs' exposure to such systems was an unintended consequence of their captivity, yet one that would linger in their minds as the war drew to a close. The camp itself was a place of routine and regulation, governed by the guidelines set forth by the Geneva Convention. These guidelines ensured that the POWs received adequate food, shelter, and medical care. In an effort to provide some semblance of normalcy and intellectual engagement, education programs were implemented within the camp. These programs offered courses in English, American history, and democracy, aiming to re-educate the POWs and instill in them the values of democratic governance and personal freedom. The POWs attended these classes with varying degrees of interest, some viewing them as a mere distraction from the monotony of camp life, while others saw them as an opportunity to gain a deeper understanding of the ideology of their captors. Outside the confines of the camp, The American public's perception of the POWs was complex and often divided. Some locals viewed the POWs with suspicion, concerned about the presence of enemy soldiers within their borders. Others, however, saw them as a necessary part of the wartime labor force, helping to sustain agricultural production in the absence of local manpower. This dichotomy was evident in the interactions between the POWs and the farmers, where mutual dependence was often tempered by underlying tensions. The role of the U.S. military and administrative personnel was crucial in maintaining order and ensuring compliance with international standards. The War Manpower Commission oversaw the distribution of POW labor, coordinating with local farmers to allocate workers where they were most needed. This logistical challenge required careful planning and execution, balancing the needs of the agricultural sector with the security concerns of housing enemy combatants. As the seasons changed and the harvest approached, the German POWs continued their labor, contributing to the fields that stretched endlessly across the horizon. Their work was a part of a larger effort to sustain the American war machine, providing the food and resources necessary to support troops overseas. The experience of working within this system, albeit as prisoners, offered the POWs a unique perspective on the American way of life. The end of the war would bring with it the question of repatriation. The POWs, having spent months or even years in the United States, would eventually return to a Germany much changed by conflict. The skills and insights gained during their captivity would play a role in the rebuilding of their homeland, influencing agricultural practices and economic policies in the post-war era. As the POWs carried out their daily tasks, they remained largely unaware of the broader geopolitical shifts occurring beyond the camp's boundaries. The war in Europe was drawing to a close, with Allied forces making significant advances. The eventual defeat of Nazi Germany was becoming increasingly apparent, and with it, the promise of peace and reconstruction. In this environment of change and uncertainty, the German POWs in South Dakota carried out their duties, contributing to the agricultural output that was vital to the American war effort. Their experiences, shaped by the systems and structures they encountered, would become a part of their personal narratives, influencing the perspectives they carried back to Germany. The lessons learned about crop insurance, government intervention, and collective risk management would find resonance in a post-war world seeking stability and growth. The story of these POWs, set against the backdrop of South Dakota's expansive fields, was one of adaptation and resilience. It highlighted the intersections of war, agriculture, and economics, offering a glimpse into the complexities of life during this tumultuous period. As they labored under the vast Midwestern sky, the POWs' journey of discovery continued, intertwined with the rhythms of the land and the tides of history. This experience not only shaped their immediate understanding of American agricultural practices, but also left a lasting impression that would influence their future endeavors in a world seeking to rebuild and recover from the ravages of war. As the autumn of 1944 settled over the South Dakota plains, the German POWs at the branch camp near Huron prepared for the end of their tenure in American agriculture. The fields they had worked, once foreign and daunting, had become familiar through months of labor. These men, captured soldiers, now turned agricultural workers, had navigated both the physical demands of farming and the intricacies of a system that emphasized collective resilience through crop insurance. Their return to Germany, anticipated as the war drew to a close, marked the conclusion of a unique chapter in their lives. While the POWs had arrived as soldiers of an adversarial nation, they left with insights into an agricultural system that offered economic stability through government-backed insurance and strategic planning. This exposure to American practices, particularly the use of crop insurance, represented a departure from their experiences in Europe, where individual farmers often faced the full impact of crop failures. The POWs' interactions with local farmers and the U.S. military personnel had highlighted the complexities of integrating enemy combatants into civilian life, set against the backdrop of a nation at war. Their contributions to the agricultural sector, while born out of necessity, had facilitated a pragmatic exchange of ideas and practices. As they prepared to depart South Dakota, the POWs carried with them not only memories of the fields they had tended, but also an understanding of an economic system designed to weather the uncertainties of nature and conflict. Upon their repatriation, these experiences would inform their perspectives, potentially influencing agricultural practices and economic policies in post-war Germany. The lessons in risk management, government intervention, and agricultural resilience gained during their captivity became part of a broader narrative of reconstruction and recovery. The story of the German POWs in South Dakota is a testament to the enduring impact of cross-cultural exchanges, even under the constraints of war. It underscores the role of agriculture as a strategic resource and highlights the potential for shared knowledge to contribute to rebuilding efforts. As the POWs left the fields of South Dakota behind, they did so with the seeds of change, poised to play a part in the reshaping of their homeland's future.